Correction releasing the name of the inmate who died while in custody at Rikers Island yesterday. 68-year-old Riccardo Cruciani, a former neurologist, was found dead around 6:30 in the morning at the Eric M. Taylor Center. He was recently convicted of sexual assault for abusing and raping 6 of his patients. The DOC commissioner tells us an investigation about the circumstances surrounding his death is underway, and this is the 12th death in DOC custody this year.
Captain is attacked. And this just in, a Rikers Island correction captain is attacked on the job. We've just learned moments ago that the captain is in the hospital in stable condition. The Department of Corrections says a weapon used in the attack this afternoon has been recovered, and the DOC commissioner says charges will be pursued against the inmate.
A woman who spent her childhood in and out of trouble with police is giving back to the community she grew up in with a back-to-school drive. Fox 23's Catherine James first shared the story of Raittia Rogers with us back in May. Today, she went to the event and spoke with people who were thankful for her help.
Families in North Tulsa pick out some last-minute school supplies at a back-to-school drive held by local evangelist Raittia Rogers, author of I Broke Out of Prison.
This is my 7th year in a row doing my back-to-school event.
Raittia's teenage years of crime and bad decisions left her with a teenage pregnancy and landed her in prison. While locked away, Raittia became closer to her faith and realized she had a higher calling. After being released, she started her ministry, helping the people in North Tulsa, where she grew up.
I'm just excited to come out to get back to the community. I used to live in Comanche Park Apartments right across the street.
Raittia says the Tulsa Teachers Credit Union helped sponsor the event, and everyone was able to pick either a cheeseburger or corn dog thanks to Sonic Drive-In.
I used to go to these things when I was a kid.
Alex McGlory says he's thankful for generations of people willing to help each other out in North Tulsa.
She picked everything else that she wanted, so, that's good.
The kids pick what they need for the new school year from things like backpacks, notebooks, and markers. Raittia says it always feels good to come give back to the place she grew up.
You can never forget where you came from, so I'm just excited to come out today to be a part and to bless lives.
In Tulsa, covering news that matters, Catherine James, Fox 23 News.
In Rochester by the name of Jalil. So these brothers have become mentors even during their incarceration. Another brother in Rochester by the name of Jalil Montequim, who served 49 years in prison. He came home doing the right thing, but the system is so flawed. They told him to go to the Department of Social Services and fill out this paperwork. And there was one thing on the end of that paperwork, which was a voter registration form. Do y'all believe that they charged this man with a felony and tried to bring him up on additional charges to send him back to prison? It's definitely not right. And I thank God for a grand jury that found a no bill. But I'm here to say that we need parole justice and we need it now. And we give a lot of energy to mayoral races and gubernatorial races, but we need to give that same type of energy to these judicial races and these district attorney races. It's a racist system, it's broken, and we cannot continue to stand for it. Parole justice now. Thank you.
This morning, we know where an ex-Minneapolis police officer will do his time for violating George Floyd's civil rights. Thomas Lane will serve his 2.5-year sentence at a low-security federal prison camp in Colorado. He is due to report to the Federal Correction Institution Inglewood in 2 weeks. A judge had recommended that Lane be sent to the low-security prison camp in Duluth, but the Bureau of Prisons made the final decision. Lane is still waiting to learn his sentence for his guilty plea on the state charges.
Earning a college degree from a top 10 school is only attainable for a small percentage of the population, many of whom had access to high-quality secondary educations. It might sound even more far-fetched for men and women serving time in prison, but it's reality for some inmates turned college students at Stateville Correctional Center. And Brandis Friedman, you had a chance to visit Stateville this week to learn more. What did you find out?
That's right, Paris. I did visit Stateville earlier this week. Of course, a maximum security prison in Will County. And while many colleges and universities will offer classes for credit to prison inmates, Northwestern University says it's the only top 10 school that grants degrees to prisoners. And next spring, these students will be the first to earn their bachelor's degrees from Northwestern while in prison. Past the prison walls and guard towers, constant reminders of freedom lost, 16 men sit in a purple-paneled classroom discussing an article by legendary activist and author Angela Davis. It's called The Meaning of Freedom. The students are engaged.
Is there anyone in the room who's already read the new Jim Crow?
Eager to learn.
In order to imagine ourselves as citizens of the globe.
And more present than many college students, who these days are easily distracted by phones and day-to-day college life.
What it is that African descendants were set free from.
One of them is 43-year-old Andre Patterson, Dre for short. Though he grew up in Evanston, attending Northwestern University as a student seemed unattainable.
Kind of like the shining beacon on the hill, so to speak, but far away.
He did get a job on campus as a dishwasher and busboy, but says he fell into the wrong crowd off campus.
They came and arrested me at work and took me through this gauntlet of students and employees handcuffed, and I used that as an example of the possibility of me now becoming a Northwestern student is kind of like a full circle moment for me.
Though he's 20 years into his 60-year sentence for murder, he's taking every opportunity he can to learn. Next year, he and his cohort will receive bachelor's degrees from Northwestern's School of Professional Studies through the university's prison education program.
Extensive empirical work that shows the benefits specifically of getting a degree while you're incarcerated.
Nationwide, data from the Bureau of Justice Statistics indicates the overall rate of recidivism, returning to crime, post-incarceration is 67%. With an associate's degree, that rate drops to 14%. And with a bachelor's degree, it dips to less than 6%. Students first have to apply and be accepted. They take classes several times a week, sometimes giving up recreation time or other privileges in order to do so. And just like college, there are papers to complete, but no computer to complete them on.
There are all sorts of challenges. They don't have access to the internet. They don't have access to websites. Everything is handwritten. If they have a question from a professor, if they don't get a chance to ask it in class in real time, they have to wait a week. They can't email the professor. Getting a college degree is hard. Getting a college degree from Northwestern is hard. Getting a college degree from Northwestern while you're incarcerated is nothing short of heroic.
Northwestern professor Jennifer Lackey, who founded and runs the program, says the rigor in this classroom is no different than on campus. The school provides additional supports like tutors and study halls to overcome what in many cases might not have been a solid secondary education. What the university can't control is time.
The psychological challenge is really the main challenge because you have no control really over your study time. Where and when you can sit down and study, it's like you got to grab snatches of solitude, snatches of, comfortability.
For 37-year-old Bernard McKinley, a sentence reduction means he could have petitioned for early release back in February, but he chose not to.
This is my safe place. And when I leave that prison cell and that prison cell house and come into that classroom, I feel like I'm around my brothers. And being around my brothers, I'm able to be me.
Today's class is political philosophy, and it's clear McKinley is among fellow philosophers.
Prison is more psychological than physical. I've acquired so much at this point where to sacrifice maybe another 8 to 10 more months wouldn't hurt. And to finish my education here, when I do go in front of that parole board, I will go in front of that parole board with something to be proud about.
But it'll be a long time before some of McKinley's classmates see the outside of Stateville Prison, if at all. Lackey argues there is still value in providing those inmates an education.
We have a number of students who have natural life, and while we hope for each one of our students that there will be a legal pathway for them to go home one day, if it doesn't turn out that way, we want to support them here. We hope to hire some of them to be tutors here in our program, to be teaching assistants.
Andre Patterson, who grew up in the shadow of Northwestern, does not consider earning his degree his redemption.
Redemption would be me taking everything I learned from the program and now applying it to my community. You see what I'm saying? What can I do to give back? where I've taken away.
And Andre, who you just heard from, says he intends to write with his degree, books, short stories, maybe his own autobiography. And Bernard McKinley, now he goes before the Illinois Prisoner Review Board in April for a hearing on his petition for early release. And he's studying to take the LSAT. He wants to head to law school to become a civil rights attorney once he's released from prison in Paris. We should also note there is a cohort of women at Logan Correctional Facility. That one is, of course, downstate.
And so what about the students that leave prison? Can they continue their education if they're in the middle of, say, getting a bachelor's degree?
So Jennifer Lackey, who runs that program, she says they don't close the door on attending school on campus. Those students are able to apply, but the handful of students who are on the outside, they choose to zoom into their classrooms, partly because they want to stick with their cohort, their classmates, but also because getting to campus for those classes is hard. There are additional challenges that they're also managing. Housing, job, food insecurity, they can all stack up for folks on the outside post-incarceration, and that makes prioritizing college that much harder.
And Brandis, how is this program funded?
So we should be clear, this is not a taxpayer-funded education. Northwestern University funds the program with some grant support. But next year, the federal Second Chance Pell Program restarts. That will provide federal financial aid to incarcerated individuals, and it opens the door for far more colleges and universities to begin providing prison education programs. Paris.
All right, Brandis, nice reporting, and good luck to all those students.